Good morning.
Sharon, could you hand me my?
Morning. How's it going? Can anyone hear me out there?
Hey, Brian, this is Linton. Yep, can hear you. How's it going?
Okay,
Morning,
cool. All righty. Thanks.
Morning, Karen.
Morning, Michael. Good morning, guys. I'm not sure if we have all the committee members on or not, so if we could do a quick roll call. I see Brian,
Yep, I'm here.
Michael, Linton,
Here.
Katie,
Here.
Krista. Krista, are you on?
I am. Let me.
Awesome.
Okay.
Okay, so can everybody see my screen?
Yes. Yes.
Yep.
The wonders of technology. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and go through this, and then I want to open it up to any community members that want to give input to see if there's something that we missed. So the way I kind of organize this, instead of having to put the same thing under each business sector, I thought we'd kind of start off with suggested best practices for all of our businesses. So if you want to look through that, and the one sector that we missed out on was our hairstylist and massages and our salons and student kind of stuff. So anyway, I did visit with Lacey a little bit, and I think we can incorporate the same best practices that we're recommending for all the businesses to make it work for her business, for her and Sherry. So I just want to make sure that we don't leave anybody out. So if there's anybody else that we missed, make sure that we include them. So just, we want to limit the occupancy to current state recommended standards, emphasize proper hand washing, of course, minimize contact. After handling a credit card or cash, they have to wash their hands or use hand sanitizer. Designate the appropriate social distancing spacing. Maintain health, including a temperature screening. And that's going to be a bit of a problem because I was looking at thermometers on Amazon yesterday, and they're a little to find. And the shipping is out there, but I did find one that's going to be here May the 4th. So we also looked at Walgreens and they don't have any, and my guess is Walmart doesn't either. So if you're thinking about getting one, you might go ahead on Amazon and get one ordered so it can be here before this goes into place.
Yeah, I found a couple on Amazon on Monday that we're able to get here like this coming week.
Oh, awesome.
I
Okay.
think
And
they
you
were
might-
$80.
Okay, awesome. And there's just a time that you, it's the gun type, so there's no contact whatsoever. You just point it at their forehead and you're good to go.
Correct.
Actually, yesterday, Ted had to go into the hospital for some blood work, and they used one of those, and his temperature showed 99.6. So then they went ahead and used an oral thermometer where it showed 92. So it was back down to within normal limits. So I don't know if it's worth having an oral on hand just kind of as a backup, because I don't know how accurate these infrared ones are going to be. But anyway, it's a start. So of course, we'll send anybody home with an elevated temperature. They won't be able to come to work if they're sick. We want to make sure we provide sanitizer at entrance and exits to business. And I'm wondering about this. I know anybody that uses Burco or one of those supply places probably can get that for us with the big dispensers. But has anybody had any experience to know if they have sanitizer available right now?
I called Burco Monday after the meeting, and they don't have the sanitizing stations. They don't have any sanitizer dispensers. They just have some hand sanitizers,
Okay,
is what the man told me.
okay. And I was going to
Linda?
have, yes,
We're getting hand sanitizer from our food service suppliers. Shamrock and Benny Keith are both able to deliver that. So we've got a reliable source for the restaurant folks.
do they have dispensers too?
Yes.
Okay, so maybe what we want to do is, could we do a bulk order and get it in for everybody that wants it?
Anybody that wants to, I'm happy to order it. We'll just pass it along at cost to anybody that wants to place an order through us.
Okay, so why don't we, if you're interested, why don't you let April at the visitor center, April or Sybil or Max know, and then we'll get that to Michael and try to get that ordered early next week. Because I think that's going to be critical to have.
Yeah, we're happy to do it.
Okay, and then as far as providing masks for our employees, I've got a source for masks. Krista, do you have a source?
Just a couple of them, yes. I'm afraid they're made in China, though.
Well, yeah, I know, but mine came in yesterday and they were actually individually wrapped and they were pretty nice. So, yeah, they're made in China. But if we can kind of pool our resources on that, the ones I got were coming in boxes of 600.
I
So we
think
can
that's because I get too, yes.
Is that yours? Okay, so were they 3 1/4?
I don't remember, right, now that you say that.
Okay,
I'll have to look that up again. They weren't expensive, were not.
okay. So that's another resource we might just let the conference center know on that as far as how many you might need.
Okay.
We can sort of get that in place too.
Yeah, and at the ski area, we found a company or had an email the other day from a flag company that's making them. And so we ordered a bunch. They're $5 a piece, but they're reusable or they're washable.
Perfect, perfect. And I actually had a company that now they're making them where we can sell them to our guests, which is probably going to be good because people are going to be showing up without them. And this way we'll have them available for them. So I think the more we can have, the more needs we can anticipate and have ready, I think the better off we're going to be. And then of course, cleaning and sanitizing all surfaces frequently. Okay, so then I went down and the next one I did was the individual sectors. So I did the rentals to include cabins, hotels, motels, condominiums, and local property management companies. And I talked to the governor's office yesterday to get clarification because they have shut down short-term rentals. But when I explained that our short-term rentals are basically just another rental unit that our guests use when they come, they said that they would allow that under the same regulations that we're with now. So they'll be required the 20% occupancy right now. Of course, all common areas to be closed, no breakfast will be served. I guess we'll pay in full to limit contact with staff. Is that reasonable? We can have them do that? I guess that's a Brian question.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we may have an odd person out that wants to pay cash or something like that, but I think doing that and eliminating, having like just one person in the office at a time, and things like that, I think will go a long way in helping out with that. So, I mean, the majority of our people pay with credit card anyway, so I think it'd be just a small percentage of cash, but.
Okay. And I guess the way I see it is the old way we used to do it is tape keys on, tape an envelope on the door with keys in it. So is that what you're thinking, to get keys to people without contact?
Yeah, I think what we'll probably do for us anyway is we have a key drop box where people leave their keys when they check out, if they check out early. And so what we'll probably do is go ahead and put the keys and anything that they need to sign. Once we get like a list of the restaurants and businesses that are open, things like that, we can put that in the envelope and then just tell them, sign these papers, put them back in the envelope, that we need them to sign, and then we can get those later. And then we have a window right by the door too. So we're kind of talking about, well, yeah, we could do something like the bank too and keep the window open. That way, when people are there, we can say, hi and wave at them or something like that. But, yeah, it'll be pretty easy for us, I think.
Okay.
Just, like I said, just little steps. It's nothing that's going to be too crazy.
Okay. One person staffing the office, and I don't know if some of the places may need more than one, and I guess as long as there's social distancing, we can make that work. This next one, I'm kind of torn on it. Guests will be screened when reservations are made. I don't know how practical that is. If somebody's making a reservation for August, to screen them now. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I think for people that, are coming up this month for sure. I mean, we've been asking and talking to people, and as long as they say they haven't been around people that have been sick or anything like that, or, they've been, not in a highly contagious area, then that's fine. I think, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Yeah, for like August, September, it's probably not totally necessary, but.
And I think it's good to do that just to heighten the awareness, how careful we're being. People can tell us what they want to tell us to want to come. So that's kind of a subjective thing.
I think part of it's yeah, getting like we talked about last week is getting people to buy into the cooperating with us. And I know for sure what I'm going to do is once we get all of our, recommended practices available for not only us, but our guests, I'm going to post that on our website and keep it on there on our homepage with a link, asking people to bring their masks, to use common sense. If they've been around people that have been sick, don't come yet. So,
Okay, good, that makes sense. Okay, this next
Yeah.
one too, about units being cleaned and disinfected with ozone. I guess there's some different schools of thought as to how effective ozone is. Some places say yes, some places say no. I don't want to put any undue expense burden on our businesses. So I think we should make that not mandatory, but that would be at each business's discretion if they want to go to that extent. What do you guys think about that?
How much are those?
Yeah, I agree too. I kind of looked at it and got the same, some people said it did help, some people said it didn't. So I went ahead and ordered a couple because it's like, well, better to be safe than sorry, I guess. And sometimes you have a stinky room anyway. So
Right.
Ozone
about 100.
generators are 100% effective against any living organism. It just
Yeah.
comes down to whether you're using it appropriately or not, right? It's the size of
Yeah,
the space that you're treating, the duration of exposure. You really need to know how to use one of those devices to ensure that it's effective. But there is very little doubt that ozonating enclosed spaces is the most effective way to sanitize a space.
Okay,
Hands down. We use them here at the brewery for sanitizing our brewing equipment and our tanks between uses, and we're very familiar with using those things. They work great. The dairy industry and food processing industry uses it. It's a really good thing to do if you know how to use it effectively. They do work.
okay. So Michael, what I've seen and what we have is just one of those little box. It's like a box, not that big, and we just set it in the room and turn it on, and you have to leave because you cannot be in the area when it's producing the ozone. But Krista, they run anywhere from $100 to $150. Is that what you found, Brian?
Yeah, I think I got some that were a little higher capacity. I think I got a 200 or 2,000 square foot one, and they were, a little over 100, not that much.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So, and that's another area where we might can cooperate with each other. If there's some of these smaller businesses that don't feel like it's really cost efficient for them to buy one, or right now is not a good time, then hopefully we could maybe share them and make sure we all work together. Okay, so then employees will wear masks and gloves when entering any room that has been occupied. Maid service will only be provided on stays of 5 days or longer. I just kind of came up with that number. And then daily towel exchange will be available at a designated area. So let's open it up to everybody that's on the call right now and see if there's any other comments or things that we missed or things that were too strict or not strict enough. So what's y'all's thinking?
Linda, this is Russell.
Yeah.
Hey, is anybody going to be tracking the cost and the expenses?
I don't know, because can businesses get cost recovery for this? I know the municipality is going to be doing that, but I don't know if that's something businesses are going to be able to recover. But it's always a good idea, I think, to track that. Any thoughts on how they might do that?
I would think that probably every individual one needs to keep track of it. And it's just the same thing like when we were managing our Memorial Day weekend. At the end of the day, we took all the expenses and brought it to Town Hall and put it in a box. And we kept track of it that way. That way we knew what the expenses were for the event that we were doing. So you never know. Things are changing on a daily basis on what we can get funding for.
Yeah,
So
that's
there
true.
could be a possibility that we could get some funding to recoup on the cost.
Okay, and I think the other thing that's important to track, and of course, we're going to see this on our GRT, but the lost revenue, we need to all be tracking that. And I heard from the municipal league yesterday because he's tracking GRT as it's starting to come in. And he's saying we're probably looking at anywhere from a 32 to a 42% drop in GRT, which is, you know, for us, we're not going to really be able to track it that good until we get to our June GRT because, or maybe even our May, but April is going to be a tough one because it's already going to be slow, but it's going to be from being slow to being zero almost. So it's going to be tough, but we just need to prepare for the worst and hope for the best. Okay, anybody else have comments on this part? Okay, amazing, guys. Is it too early to comment? Okay, we'll go to RV parks. So again, the guests will pay in full before arrival. Express check-in done outside, and I think all three of the parks can do that, where they can actually go outside and just check them in and get them situated without having them come into the office. Put in here that one campsite space will be unoccupied between campers. That's basically 50% occupancy. So I would say, you know, until we get to a future phase, we can do that. But I think the campsites are they 6 feet apart, Katie? Are most campsites 6 feet apart?
Absolutely. I mean, I know all of our sites are. I think that River Ranch or 4K is as well. And Red River RV Park would be the only one that might be a little bit closer together. But I think 6 feet is absolutely safe to say that, yeah, all of us have that between each space.
Okay, perfect. And then I think all the public areas should be closed, which would be the playgrounds, the meeting rooms, until we get until we move to a different phase.
Okay.
Shower facilities, that's going to be a tough one. I don't know what the normal is for cleaning those, if you clean it after each use or if you clean it a couple of times a day. But I think it's going to be important that they're cleaned after each use. And I think you guys had some ideas on how you could take reservations for people to use it so you know exactly when they're being used and when you'll be able to go in and clean them and give yourself plenty of time for that.
Right.
Okay, any laundry facilities will be cleaned and sanitized thoroughly throughout the day. Again, you know, that's going to have to be probably marked with social distancing, limiting the number of people that are using it, and then making sure it's just kept clean. The individual parks may decide to offer delivery of groceries and restaurant meals to encourage social distancing, to encourage them to stay, you know, within their own space. And then, of course, to follow all the other best practices. So what do we miss? Any comments?
We don't necessarily want to say we'll space on one side apart because that's not.
Right. I mean, I think that one space apart is the only thing that, you know, if it's, as long as there's space for social distancing, it doesn't need to necessarily say that, but.
Well, and the way it works is when a camper pulls in, their door is typically, is it going to open onto the back of the other camper? So it's not like the door is open facing each other, do they?
Exactly. Yeah.
So, I mean, so yeah, so you're going to be, you'd have to walk around the camper to get to the other person. So that kind of stuff. So do you guys think it would be safe to delete that?
Yes.
That?
Delete that.
I think so. I don't think that's necessary.
What about everybody else?
Yeah.
Y'all good with that? Okay, we'll get rid of that. All right, restaurants.
It's Karen.
Yes.
As far as any of the meeting spaces at any of these locations, as reunions and weddings are allowed to happen under X number of people, can we not place that as a part of this until such time as that's determined?
Let's see, where do I have that about meeting spaces?
I don't think you have it in here, so I want to
Okay.
make sure that it
The
stays out.
common area.
Okay, okay, I'll leave that out, and we'll make sure that, that any meeting spaces, of course, are gonna, follow the guidelines. You know,
Okay.
that's gonna always be the underlying theme, that we have to follow the state guidelines.
Now, most of this time of year, we look at outdoor areas. So as long as we're following the social distancing, is everybody good with that?
I am, and we might want to put that in the special events part down here in the middle in a minute, as
Okay.
far as weddings and family reunions, because I didn't specifically address that.
Thank you.
Sure. Okay, restaurants. Continue with your food delivery and takeout service. Maximum 6 persons at a party. I hope we can get that through, because I know from listening to Michael yesterday, we had big groups. I think the state is suggesting 4, but we'll keep pushing forward. Maintain this.
The
I'm sorry.
point to make for that, Linda, is that, you know, the parties as they arrive in Red River, whatever their party size is, 4, 6, 8, those are family units that are already in their own collective virus bubble, and breaking those parties up into smaller pieces has no beneficial effect for them or us.
Okay. Okay.
I agree.
Okay, so maintain the 6-foot social distancing. Minimize contact with customer items such as credit cards. Provide disposable menus, and then the occupancy dependent on the phase for reopening. Anything else that we're missing? I mean, we don't really need to address dishwashing or any of that, because that's already done to a level of approved standard, correct?
Yes. And the New Mexico Environment Department, I don't know if they've been checking in with other restaurants here in Red River or not, but they've been following our sanitization practices during the closure. We've had them visit and be on the phone with us a couple of times since we shut down. They were just checking in to see if we're still partially open, and if so, how we are operating. So they seem to be on top of the industry right now.
Okay.
And we'll keep doing the same things we always have.
Okay, good. All right, we'll move on to retail, which is really kind of the simplest one, because we sort of included everything in the best practices. So I think the main thing is just going to be to limit the occupancy in the store. I think, you know, of course, plexiglass is going to be an option if somebody feels really unsafe. But the main thing is going to be the sanitizing, the cleaning the counters after the guests check out. So pretty much the same thing. You agree with that, Krista?
Yes. I did call Bob's Yard today about those portable hand washing stations, and they do have some of those for rent. They're $100 a month if you wanted to get one to put outside the store or something, as another option, since the hand sanitizing stations aren't really available right now.
Okay. That's kind of an option. You know, it might not be bad to have those, even include that in our special events and things like that. That's a great idea. And $100 a month, that's not terrible.
I didn't think so at this
Okay.
point.
I'll put that down maybe under the special event stuff.
Okay.
And then we could always include anybody that wants that could know that's available. So awesome. Any other comments from anybody?
One thing, the other day I was kind of ignorant and then I didn't know my occupancy level for each of the stores because it's been so long, I don't know what happened to my signs. So I called Deke and he said that if anybody else doesn't know their occupancy level, that John at the fire department can help them out in that.
That's a good point, because I don't know mine either. So
You would
that's,
think the fire chief's sister would know this, but nope, I didn't.
all right, good. Okay, that's great. We all need to check on that, so. Okay, perfect. Anything else? Okay, this one was a little hard for me, the outdoor recreation. So I put to limit the occupancy on the chairlift, the Pioneer Flyer, the ropes course to I need to put to maintain social distancing in there. And then Katie and I talked about Surreys and go-karts and OHVs and Jeep rentals. And I had originally put in to only allow 2 passengers, but the comment was kind of like what Michael's is about these family units, because that's who's going to be renting these things. So I put in there it must be limited to immediate family use. So I don't know if you guys like that wording, but that means, a family unit that's been together is who can use that. So they could go in a Jeep together, they could ride double in a go-kart, they could put 2 in a Surrey. What do you guys think?
Linda, I like the intent there, because our visitors usually come up in family units, but sometimes that can include a friend of the family or a cousin or something. But I think the intent is that to be limited to that group of people that are vacationing together.
Okay.
Right? They're staying in a hotel room together. Typically it's a family, but not necessarily.
How about parties traveling together?
There you go. I think that's more general and kind of more accurately captures what we deal with here in the town of Red River. It's the party that's traveling and vacationing together. I totally understand that falls apart when you start talking about the rest of the state of New Mexico, but if we're looking about what makes sense for us here in this town, I like that language better.
Okay. Everybody else, any other comments?
Linda, the only thing, hello?
Gotcha, I can hear you.
Okay, the only thing I can see about parties traveling together and what Michael was saying earlier about, how many people to sit in a restaurant. I think the only thing that can go wrong with that is all these people that we have here that are 5 families who travel together. And all of a sudden they're party traveling together. Maybe a seat at a restaurant is 24. And
right.
The appearance is bad.
Well, and okay, so this is just outdoor recreation.
Right.
The other, for the restaurants, they're limited to 6.
Right.
And this is talking about like, on the Surreys, you can only put what, 2 and a baby perched on the center. So you're not really talking that many, on a Jeep rental, you're talking 4 people, but we're just wanting to make sure that we don't have a bunch of people that don't know each other. And okay, Carolyn, something we need to talk about is Jeep tours.
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
how are we going to
ma'am.
address that?
What we had talked about was cutting it down to family members or separating. We have a middle seat so we can seat 4 in the front and 4 in the back, and they would be 6 feet apart. But it's really hard to know how to go about that. That's what we were thinking.
And
but we're certainly open to suggestions.
How many people can you guys put in one Jeep trip?
I could accommodate 12 people.
Okay, I think that's going to be one of those things that we start with whatever the recommended or what the requirement is. So it might have to be limited to 6 until they
Okay.
increase how many can gather. So we'll put 6 people, and it has to be family members.
I think that's totally fine. And we won't lose a lot of money that way. We can still, at least break even and accommodate our guests.
Okay. So what else are we missing on outdoor recreation? And then as far as cleaning the equipment, that's just going to be, I know some of the stuff that Steve Cherry was talking about, you just spray it on and it has to sit for like 10 minutes. It's kind of expensive. So I'm not sure what the best way is going to be to clean that, but you guys are just going to have to figure it out.
Just good old fashioned bleach water works
There you go.
really well. It's
Yep.
cheap, it's effective, it's easy to do. Mix up some bleach water and spray it on your stuff.
There you go. Okay, perfect.
Linda, you need to address the horses.
Oh,
Good for you. Okay. They're pretty socially distanced.
They can be, yes.
Yeah, the main problem I see there is when they're gathering and they're getting them all saddled up and mounted and take off.
Yeah.
So we'll put that in there with just some verbiage that they must maintain social distancing. Anything else I should add with that?
What about cleanliness of the equipment when they get off?
Right, all equipment, and that'll go under that all equipment will be cleaned and sanitized. They can just spray their stuff down with bleach water too. Does that, if you dilute it enough, it doesn't discolor, does it?
No.
Like on a saddle or something? How else would you clean a saddle and the reins and all that?
Well, you got to be sure everybody's in gloves, getting on and getting off, take the gloves off, that type of thing. Really stress that they don't wear shorts, which we try to anyway, but
Okay,
not direct contact with the fur, the hair of the horse.
okay.
I think somebody should reach out to Dirk and get, get some thoughts from him.
Okay. Anybody want to do that?
I will.
Okay, perfect. Thanks, Krista. And
Hey, Linda.
Yeah.
This is Steve.
uh-huh.
Hey, and Michael may know this answer, but I heard that for the bleach water for this virus has to be 200 parts per million, which is really high. I don't know if 100 parts per million, which is normal, is enough. But SaniQuat, we can use SaniQuat, which wouldn't hurt. You have to double that too, though. So that's normally 200. And that would have to go to 400, I believe. I think that's what James and I talked about a month or so ago. Michael, you may know more.
No, that is my understanding as well, Steve.
Okay, so put that in layman's term. So how much bleach per gallon?
I can get the figures for you, the ounces, but that's gonna like discolor things. If we're talking about dirt, you could use SaniQuat. I don't think that would discolor or hurt.
Is that expensive product we were looking at yesterday?
No. This is kind of a standard thing that we use. I just bought that stuff just to spray on the doorknobs and just to have that visible to guests. But SaniQuat does kill it, but it has to be double the strength.
Okay, so the bleach water would be good to use on the chairs and the surreys and that kind of stuff, the metal that they're touching. But we need to come up with something else for anything that could be discolored.
Correct.
Okay, so if you'll send me a link to the SaniQuat, is that what it's called?
Uh-huh.
Okay, and we'll try to make all these resources available so that we can make sure we can get it for the community.
Okay.
And we may have to go, like through you or through Michael to get it, but if we're gonna get the sanitizer through one, then we'll get the other through the other. What are you laughing about?
Yeah, Michael can get all that too. I don't want to,
Okay.
unless you need me to do it, I don't mind at all. I just don't want to.
Okay.
Bring it
We
up.
just need, yeah, I mean, I know nobody's gonna make money off of it. It's gonna be it's just gonna be
No.
a service you guys are providing to us, so we appreciate that.
Correct.
Okay, let's look at special events. This one's hard. So we know with Memorial Weekend, we've already canceled the vendors and any activities on town property, and no itinerant vendor permits will be issued. As far as anything else happening in town, that's going to depend on what's allowed at that point. So each business is going to be responsible for making sure they follow the guidelines. And I think that's all we can address. Agree or not agree?
Yeah. Got to take it as it comes.
Okay. Disc golf tournament. I know Linton has said they're already going to limit it to 50 participants, and social distancing will be in place. And, you know, hopefully they will have opened up golf courses by this point. And so to me, this would kind of fall under that same category. Anything else we need to add in for the disc golf tournament?
Linda, this is Reed. So I'm currently working with Nick and Sam. Those are our tournament directors. Sam is also the state coordinator for the PDGA. So he is in close contact with the PDGA as well with what is in place, what they're going to allow, sanctioning wise, all of that, since they oversee even our tournament being sanctioned. We're preparing a document of suggested rules and guidelines that we'll be preparing for that. Various things, social distancing practices from, how we do registration, how we handle, we're looking at tee times, for example. So, but we're preparing that and kind of, like you said, rolling with whatever comes along from the governor.
Do you know when that'll be available?
We started with a bullet point list for now, and we'll be preparing that into a more organized document. Sam and I have a Google Doc going. So our goal is to get that done here probably by early next week. And hopefully by then we'll know a little bit more as well.
Not to pressure you, but I'm planning on presenting this to council Tuesday night for their approval, because this is going to stay a draft until we get final approval. So if there's any way you could get this to me by Tuesday morning so I could put it in this document, and then we could get that approved too.
Yep, yeah, that's doable. We can do that.
Perfect. Okay, so the car show, I took this from the chamber meeting yesterday. And we're talking about going ahead and expanding the venue areas to include Brandenburg Park, the municipal parking lot, and the vacant land next door to the Best Western. And that way we could put 25 cars in each venue. That's going to allow social distancing. No other outside vendors will be allowed unless the state health department has opened that up. It would be really nice to have like a drink vendor, the soda man at one of the venues, and the popcorn guy at another one, just to have one food vendor at each area would be kind of nice if you could control the social distancing. I think this is a kind of an exciting opportunity for the chamber to move from having classic cars in one place and having OHVs and Jeeps and off-road stuff in another, and then having some other kind of funky cars in another, where Reed was talking about having the souped up hot cars, the fancy Porsches and the fancy cars. So, it might be a really good opportunity to sort of see the event evolve if we can make this happen. Thoughts?
I think you nailed it.
Linda, I have one thought on the car show. Well, even some of those special events, is there already a plan in place to control the traffic going into the restroom facilities?
We hadn't thought about that, but we need to. And, we can just probably not have any of the event inside. So we'll just have someone at the door that's just kind of monitoring how many people are going in and out of the conference center to use the restroom. That's a great idea. And this is where I think special events is where we could use those hand washing stations.
Yeah.
So I think, you know, besides having sanitizer, if we could, it might be easier just to put in 2 or 3 hand washing stations for people to use.
And the sooner we talk to Bob Koss about that, the better, because he's limited on those and they're going to go quick.
Yeah.
I know, and you hate to reserve them if we're not going to be able to have the event. But,
Right.
but at $100 a month, I mean, if we got 3 of them, it would be good to have them positioned throughout town anyway, where people could just wash their hands.
Yeah.
So maybe we go ahead and reach out to Bob and see if we can get 3 of them.
I agree, Linda. I think that's a smart thing to do, just to have them at 3 different locations on Main Street, right there on the sidewalk or near the park for people to wash their hands as they go by, just as a reminder that, you know, we've got a problem and here's something simple you can do every time you walk by to wash your hands.
Okay. Russell, you wanna reach out to Bob and let's go ahead and get those in maybe the Thursday before Memorial Weekend.
Okay. Yeah, I can call Bob.
And then we'll have them for all of June, all of July, and all of August. That's going to be about $1,000 expenditure for the town, but I think it's probably something we need to do.
One question about those stations. Does the $100 a month include Bob coming up to service them?
Yes, every week, they said.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, he services because they got their own water reservoir, so he'll have to restock it with water.
Okay. That's an awesome idea. Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay. So then on the Art and Wine, this one I'm worried about a little bit because I know they've been so strict about allowing any the bars and gathering at the bars and the drinking and the standing while you're drinking. So I don't know what they're going to do with this, but I think so. Again, the vendor spacing will allow for the social distancing, and then you're going to have to limit to 250 people in the park. So that's going to basically require people at every entrance clicking off the numbers, and as people leave, letting more people in. Can the chamber do that?
Sorry, I'm muted.
Carolyn?
Sorry, I was muted.
Okay.
We'll have to. We'll make it work. We'll figure it out.
Okay, and then again, I'll add to that we'll have the hand washing stations. And I guess Bob can move those around. So during the special event, we can move it from down Main Street into the park where we need it, correct?
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Awesome.
Family encampment. This one, you know, I don't know. I put that the capacity is 2,500. So I'm just kind of guessing if it's limited to 1,200, that they would be able to social distance and maintain that. And again, I'll put in the hand washing stations. I think we need extra porta potties for this because otherwise there'll be too many going into the conference center. What else?
Didn't they, I think the family encampment, don't they order their own porta potties?
Yeah.
They do, don't they?
Yes.
Okay.
I think they do. So, but maybe we could encourage some hand washing stations to go with them, because I kind of like what Michael said a minute ago. We're going to have people that come to town that are going to be looking for some place to wash their hands.
Yeah, and so many of the businesses are closing off their restrooms right now. So there's really no place for them to go in to wash them. And you know, Bob has some of those really nice porta potties that are like the multiple units that you walk into, and they've got the hand washing and everything included. I have no idea what those cost.
Oh yeah, it's a trailer mounted.
Yes. Would you check on those and see how much they cost?
You know, I don't know for sure. I mean, we could check into that.
Okay, because you know, that's going to be a problem once we start having people in town. if the businesses aren't comfortable having their restrooms open, these people are going to have to find facilities somewhere. So that might be something we just need to think about supplying. Okay. So I didn't go past June, and I just said that the additional summer events will be evaluated 30 days prior. We've got the 4th of July parade, and then we've got the Mountain Brew Fest, which is scheduled for July. And then we don't have anything until August with Chili Cook-Off. So that's just kind of, I think we'll just have to play it by ear on those.
Linda, do you want to bring up reunions and weddings?
Yes. What do you think?
Well, honestly, at most June events are outdoors, so we can easily social distance them. There's very few that are interior, and those that are interior, we do the 6 feet apart.
Right.
But I mean, basically, we have a ton of reunions coming into this town in June.
How many people are usually with each reunion?
They average 50 to 75. And most of them, like I said, are outdoor areas.
Okay. How about weddings? How many people for weddings?
Well, I had a big one, a 251, and she has knocked it down to 50. So I'm trying in June to stay 50 or less right now. A lot of them have gone to just family units, so 25, and still coming. So that we don't lose all of them.
Okay. And what about receptions for those?
It's about the same. They all like outdoor receptions in June because we're not usually into monsoons yet. So that's an opportunity to keep those distances going. It's just increased tables, and rental equipment. And most of the vendors are working with those of us in the industry in order to double without doubling the cost.
Okay.
You can put 3 people at a table instead of what normally would be 6 or 8.
Okay. And this is a place where you're going to need to have the hand washing and the sanitizer and all that available for you.
Which is a pass-through to the wedding or the reunion party anyway. And now that I've heard the cost per month, I think I'll just make sure they stay here.
Okay. Okay.
Because that's what I pay for a sanitizing station for the weekend.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well, good. So, okay, good. Okay, I'll kind of put that together. If you think of anything else I need to include with that, be sure and let me know.
Thank you, Linda.
Okay. So with the phases, currently we're at 25% occupancy. And then we're going to ask that they go ahead and add 20% occupancy for non-essential businesses beginning May 4th. I think that's being a little optimistic. That's only a week from Monday. But we can ask for it. And then May 18th, go to 50% occupancy for non-essential businesses and 75 for lodging. I think that's too much. I think we should be at 50% for both, but give me your input.
I guess for Memorial Day weekend, it'd be nice to be at 75% capacity. So I guess I would like to see, if the lodging, we've stayed above the regular anyway. So, if we're doing non-essential at 50%, we should probably keep the lodging at 75. I don't know if it'll fly or not, but.
Well, I don't either. And it's a negotiation and we always want to ask more than what we anticipate.
If she comes back and say, well, we can do 50, then we'll take 50, but 75 would be good.
So I agree with Brian and with what you just said, Linda. Let's ask for more. I would like to be a little looser than 50% by Memorial anyway.
Okay. And then as far as, I think it's important that we all realize that we have to be prepared to pull back in case there's any resurgence whatsoever.
Yeah, of course.
So comments I heard yesterday when I was talking to the governor's office was this, I said, you know, we're different. We're different than Albuquerque. We should be treated differently because we know who our businesses are. We can get buy-in. We can get commitments from our business. We can make sure that we do what we say we're going to do. And they came back with, this virus has no boundaries. It doesn't, or no borders. It doesn't care where you are or what you can do different. But I still think we have a really strong case to say, but we can handle us because we're small and we know each other. And if somebody's not doing what they're supposed to do, we're going to make sure they do. I also, I know that she's watching the data, and until things begin to flatten, she's going to kind of stand firm on it. But I think she's considering next week starting to look at putting together a task force very much like ours to see what they suggest. So that's why I think it's so important that we have our suggestions in. We also have a call. There's about 12 mayors from around the state. We have a call with the governor at 1 o'clock today. We'll be talking about the stuff. Hopefully we'll get a better idea because we will hear directly from her. So keep your fingers crossed. Michael?
Linda, do you think, is it possible that we get some representation on that task force, the governor's task force? Some representation that understands communities and economies like ours?
We're pushing for it. And I was really encouraged because my contact at the governor's office specifically requested that I be on the call today to give our viewpoint. So I think, you know, now whether she moves forward with forming a group yet, it may be too soon. But just the idea that she's beginning to consider it, I think is very optimistic. Okay. But yes, we will be pushing for it. And that's one thing we'll say today is, you know, we're not all the same. We're not Albuquerque. I know Farmington is pushing so hard and she is pushing back because that's where all the cases are. Roswell's pushing hard, Hobbs is pushing hard. And then there's a group that's saying, no, leave us closed. So she's getting it from both sides, and we've just got to make a good case. And again, you know, it's going to be interesting to watch now that Texas is opening up, Colorado is opening up. We've got Georgia to watch. I'm not sure which other ones, but we just need to watch and see what's happening in these states as they begin to open up.
I think Ohio was one of them.
Is Ohio? Okay.
I think Ohio, yeah. I think I
Hey, Linda?
Yeah.
On the porta potties, they're out of the ones that have sinks in with them, but they do have separate sinks that sit beside the porta potties, and those are $100 a month, serviced once a week. And the porta potties are $120 a month with a weekly service, but he will give a discount if you need more than one.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you. And I appreciate that. And Christy had gotten that information too. So that is excellent information to have. Okay. Anybody else? What are we missing?
I do want to make a point. I'm not sure if everybody's reading the chat window, but out on the CDC site is the recipe for a bleach solution. It's 1/3 cup bleach per gallon of water to use on hard surfaces. It's simple, easy. You know, if we can all do something to clean our hard surfaces, we don't need special product from Burco. We don't need ozone machines to do this. It's simple. Just make some bleach solution and spray it on your stuff.
Okay. Okay. So let me go back just a minute because there's a couple of places when I heard Tori that we haven't addressed. The first, and Tori, this is kind of funny. The first is bars. The second is churches. But I don't know. In that order. Tori reminded me, so in that order.
Reminds me of the countryside.
No. So as far as the bars, I know they've been strict on those. I don't know if we just kind of don't include that in our plan and see what they come back with? Or what would you guys say?
So why would we want to treat bars any different than a restaurant? I mean, kind of socially, it's the same sort of environment. You've got people who are in an enclosed area to eat and drink stuff. So, I would think we include bars in with restaurants for that reason.
I agree. I
Yeah.
agree.
I think all of our bars serve food too, so that's a plus for us.
Okay,
Right.
so that'll make that easier then. Okay, now what about churches? I don't know that we can really give recommendations for that because I think that's going to be the whole social distancing and I don't know. What do you guys think? Do we mention churches? We've got the community house. It's going to want to do their activities, and that's something else we didn't mention.
So Linda, this is Ed.
Yeah.
As far as churches are concerned, at least in our situation, social distance isn't a big deal for us because, we have a 500 person capacity. So, but some of the issues that might, and I don't have any recommendations right now, but I actually think bars and churches are pretty similar in a weird way. Because socially, that's kind of why people go. For us, one of the things that's going to be really difficult and would maybe even prevent us from opening is to think that we're going to require the praise team and those kinds of people to wear masks while they're trying to sing and those sorts of things. So I'd love to, when you talk with the governor, just kind of get her ear on that. The other thing that's going on is they have us limited to 5 people right now. And we're trying to put food baskets together. We're up to, I'm not even sure how many families we're feeding now, but we have 17,000 square feet. We can spread out to where, we could have 100 people in our building in groups of 5 and never even see each other. So I would really ask you to kind of hit her on that and find out on bigger places like this, to where we can, because we're still trying to serve the community and she has handcuffed us in a huge way right now. Like I said, last Friday we did 9 families. I think we picked up another 7 or 8 that we're trying to feed every week. And it's really hard to do that with a real limited number of people.
Right. Okay, so I'll put in something about that. I was going to do a little bit of a narrative before and then a narrative after where I'll talk about churches and that kind of stuff. The community house, do we want to even go there or do we just want to kind of consider that as special events and limited to maybe the 50 participants, or what do y'all think? I think that may be a moot point because I think the community house has actually canceled all of their events until July 1st. So I'll touch base with Vicki on that and see what I can find out. Okay, anything else that we're missing that you guys can think about?
I just have a comment, Linda. How can we justify 1,200 people in a tent for family encampment?
Well, it's the end of June.
Okay.
And if we're hoping that we're 100% open, we're pulling it back 50%.
Okay.
And, that tent is so big that I really think they can social distance. And the other thing is the people that attend that, a lot of them are in that vulnerable age group. So they may limit it on their own. But I know speaking with Jerry, he said that they need 1,200 to make it viable.
Yeah, I did hear him
say
that.
number. Yeah, that's where I came up with that number.
And it just seems a little odd that, we're limiting the festivals to 250 and yet we're going to put 1,200 people under a tent. That's just.
Yeah. And I think part of it's the timing, we're thinking
Sure.
early June versus late June.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, when you think about July 4th, if we're open full blast for that, think how many people are going to be lining the streets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, Linda, would it
Martin
help to put dates on there for the events?
Right. I think that's a great idea. Yeah, I'll add dates.
Is to add the dates for the family encampment and for the arts and wine, and that way you kind of know where things are as
Carolyn, when is Art and Wine?
Let me pull up the calendar here. Shelby, do you know what it is right offhand? It is.
It's June 19th to the 21st.
Thank you.
And then the car show?
June 6th. June 6th.
6th?
Yes.
June 6th, yes.
Okay, and the disc golf tournament?
6 and 7.
Is it 6 and 7? Okay, and
7.
Yeah, correct. It's 6 and 7.
dates for the encampment, does anybody have that?
Linda, this is Sybil. Family encampment is June 25th to July 1st.
Okay, perfect. Okay.
Linda?
Yes.
This is Dee.
Hi,
Good
Dee.
morning. Thank you for all the stuff you do for our town. I have one question, well, a couple of questions regarding the restaurants. I think I noted that you said that we have to have disposable menus. Like my menus are lined, they're plastic lined and stuff. So if I bleach them, like every time somebody comes in, we wipe them down with Clorox wipes or whatever. Would that be acceptable, or is it definitely a disposable menu, like where somebody, we throw that menu away as soon as somebody orders? Is that what you're trying to say? The other thing is also outdoor seating. Would that be part of my seating capacity that we're talking about?
I think the outdoor seating would be included just like the indoor. You would just have to make sure that you social distance and pull out half of them.
Okay.
But I agree with, I think, to me, it seems reasonable that you could spray the menus down with bleach. What do the other restaurant people think here?
I know like in March when we started starting this issue, we only out of all my menus, I only did like probably 10 that were used on a daily basis, and that way as soon as somebody used them, we wiped them down with Clorox or bleach water, and we just kept using the same ones over and over and wiping them down. I think it'd be less expense in the long run with all this paper stuff. But then again, I'm good with whichever route we go. You know, I just wanted some clarification.
Michael and Steve, do you guys have any comment on that?
Regarding the menus?
Yeah, I mean, do you think we could successfully, just as long as they're covered in plastic, just spray them with bleach water and they'd be fine to use?
Yeah, I think if your menu has a hard surface, like it's a plastic menu or laminated in some way, wiping it down with bleach water is completely effective. If your menu is a porous surface, like a newspaper material or paper, they should be disposed of between uses.
Okay, I will clarify that.
I have one more question, Linda. This thermometer thing that, let's say, for example, you know, I know a lot of other restaurants have a lot of staff. I certainly do not. But let's say I was to use this thermometer and there was a problem where the temperature was out of whack or something, and I don't like confrontation, but at that point, do we say, I'm sorry, we cannot serve you, and call the police? Or, I mean, you don't want disgruntled your clients, you know, so I mean, I don't know, I guess that later on we'll probably have more specifications or an idea of how to handle this sort of thing. I'm certainly not a tech by any means, but anyway, feedback. Yes.
My thinking on the thermometer is that we monitor our employees.
Oh, okay.
I don't think we can monitor our guests. I think that
Oh,
would be.
thank you.
Yeah, so let's just make sure we keep our employees healthy, and if there's any issue with them, make sure we send them home, send to get tested, all that, yeah. So
I
let's-
apologize.
That's okay.
I
That's
thought you
okay.
meant our guests. I said, oh gosh. Okay, thank you so much for clarifying that. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Hey, Linda, I got one question on
Okay.
on the lodging and RVs. Now, are we going to count numbers or are we talking units? Like people on
How do they
occupancy,
count
or
your
are we going to talk?
occupancy? What is your occupancy rate based on? I don't know.
Units.
Yeah, I mean,
Units.
we've been just kind of looking at it as, I mean, it doesn't really matter at this point. We don't have that many people around. So, but yeah, if we start getting into Memorial Day weekend, I might be counting people versus units.
Well, I think right now, let's go with units. And then for Memorial
Okay.
Weekend, you guys are gonna have to realize that I would probably limit it to 4 people a room. Be careful about putting a bunch
yeah.
of people in there.
And doesn't that go along with the size of your unit? A 2-bedroom versus a 1-bedroom, or an efficiency, or, it should be like it's based
yeah,
off
I
of
mean,
square footage, just like every other business.
Well, right, yeah,
Yeah.
we do have maximum numbers per unit, but I could have 20 cabins rented and still only have 40 people here.
Yeah.
So, or do we
Right.
say
But you don't want to
we
have
can only
20
have
cabins rented
10
with
cabins
400
rented?
people here.
Yeah.
Exactly, right, yeah. So that's where it kind of comes in. I mean, we can rent units, but the numbers don't always match. So, I guess that was my question.
We were
I think-
looking at it
No,
off
I
of
agree.
units.
As what?
As units, I mean, because each unit at the RV park, we allow 6 people per unit. So with 120 sites, that could be 680 people. But we were just looking at it per site. So
And that's what we've been doing too, is we've been looking at it per cabin.
I think that's the
so we
way
have
to
20.
do. Yeah.
Okay.
I think we need to be careful about getting too detailed, because then we're going
Right,
to make us all go crazy.
And
Yeah,
for the
yeah. No, I just wanted to.
for the property management people that are renting out houses,
Uh-huh.
most of those houses can sleep 12 to 20 people. So are they going to be limited to 5? How are we going to do that?
That's a good point, because the total amount that can be together right now is 5. So if there's a family of 6, I mean, again, it's going to be kind of the family unit. I don't think we want to bring in 3 different families that haven't been staying, that haven't been living in the same house and stick them in one confined space like that. So I think it's still going to need to be limited to the family unit traveling together.
Yeah, I agree. I can use an example of houses in my neighborhood right there down on Tenderfoot. Like the house across the street sleeps 20 people. And when they show up, there's 6 different cars and they're coming from all over.
Yeah.
They're not coming from the same town. They're coming from different towns. And so that's where it's going to be a little bit complicated, I think.
where that screening could come into effect, or just asking questions and making sure that you're saying that only a family unit can stay in a property, managed house.
Yeah, and we'll just have to get with our property management companies and just make sure they understand that. And again, even when there's not any restrictions in place, we know sometimes those 20-person houses have more than 20 in them. So we'll just, it's going to require some on y'all's parts to make sure that we can do this and to enforce it. And it's going to be a challenge, but hopefully if we've got some money coming in, it won't be so difficult.
I have a question, Linda.
Yes.
If we, residents see 30 people standing around somewhere together or checking into a home or house together, do you want us to report them? Are we going to call town hall? Are we going to, what are we going to do in those instances? Are we going to report them?
Call the property manager.
I think the property management company needs to handle it. So yeah, and I guess I don't want you guys to get involved with calling other businesses and saying, hey, you're not doing your job. We'll let Russell do that. No. But yeah, Cole, maybe we need to set up a special, set up something at town hall where you guys can call in and just say, hey, we saw 30 people at this house and 4 cars from 3 different states. And we'll talk to the property manager.
Okay, thank you.
But we all have to hold each other accountable. I mean, we're all neighbors in this, and we're all friends, and we're all business people. So in all reality, I feel very comfortable picking up the phone and calling anyone. And most of us should feel that way. I mean, we want to stay open, and we want to continue. to open
Yes.
the door.
And protect our community.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And if we do succeed in getting to start reopening, I mean, that's a gift to us, and we need to realize that and realize how
Yes.
precious that is. But again, we still have to protect our community. That's the #1 priority right here. So, okay. All right. Anything else you guys can think of?
Linda, just a quick comment. Whatever level we get open, I think we owe our guests to be very clear and make sure they have a clear picture of what they're coming to. And that's going to be all on the chamber and on the lodges more than anything. But just so they don't get up here and have a really bad experience and don't want to come back, I think we need to make sure they know precisely what, if we can set that on the chamber's website or whatever, but just so we can refer them and they know clearly what they're going to be getting into.
Absolutely.
Definitely. Great point. Good point. Okay, guys, thank you so much. Great comments. I appreciate your time. I will go ahead and work on this a little bit more and have Civil send it out so you guys can all kind of preview it. It will be on the council agenda for Tuesday night, and we'll see what we can do.
Thanks, Linda.
Nice. Thank you, Linda.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Hello? I'm